To solve this equation, first of all, I have to find the critical point of any absolute value, and then we can get rid of this absolute value. For the first absolute value, critical point would be 2x minus 3 equals 0, so x equals 3 half or 1.2. It's my critical point. What does it mean? That means if I put any x less than 1.5, this absolute, inside this absolute value would be negative. I said the output of any absolute value would be positive. So to get rid of this absolute value, I have to multiply this negative number with negative that makes my number positive. And for any x larger than 1.5, I get a positive inside this absolute value. So I can get rid of this absolute value sign without any multiplying with negative sign. So I get what's critical point. Again, here for this absolute value, for the second one, the critical point, I get it x plus 4 equals 0. So x equals negative 4 would be my critical point. That means if I get x less than negative, I have to multiply inside this absolute value with negative. And if I have a x larger than negative 4, I can get rid of this absolute value sign without any multiplying. Okay, so I split this expression to three or cases or three parts. The first part, I said x is smaller than the smallest critical point between 1.5 and negative 4. The smallest would be negative 4. Okay, I go for negative 4. So less than negative 4, that means less than 1.5. So to get rid of this absolute value, so I have to multiply inside with negative because inside would be negative. So minus 3. I put the sign in front of the second absolute value. Again, I said x less than negative 4, so inside would be negative. To get rid of this negative absolute value sign, I have to multiply inside with negative as well, equals 1. I said negative 2x plus 3, and negative negative here gives me positive, so the second parenthesis would be plus x minus 4 equals 1. This x and this 1 gives me negative x, and 3 and negative 4 gives me negative 1. I bring negative 1 in the right side, so it would be negative x equals 2, so x equals negative 2. I find negative x equals negative 2, but my interval says I only assume the x less than negative 4 to write this expression. So x equals negative 2, it isn't a member of this interval, so it's wrong. I will go for the uh, second part. Let me write the second part here. Okay, I get x. Let me change my color. I get x this time between two critical points. That means larger than negative 4 and smaller than 1.5. So if I get it, I say it's less than 1.5. So less than 1.5, to get rid of the first absolute value sign, I have to multiply inside it by negative because it's less than 1.5. And for the second one, I put the negative sign that's between two absolute value. For the second absolute value, I say it's larger than -4, so I get rid of this absolute value without any multiplying, equals 1. Okay, apply any negative, it's 1. That's negative 2x, negative x gives me negative 3x. And this one, it was negative. Let me change it. It would be negative. It would be positive. It would be negative. Okay. So positive 3, negative 4 gives me negative 1. I bring this negative 1 and let me consider it again. As I said, it would be negative 2x plus 3, so it would be negative x, and it would be negative 4 equals 4. Yes, negative 2x, negative x gives me negative 3x, and positive 3, negative 4 gives me negative 1. Bring it, would be 2. So x equals negative 2 thirds. Negative 2 thirds is larger than negative 4 and smaller than 1.5. So it's correct. I can get this x. For the third part, again, I will change my color. For the third part, I say x larger than largest critical point. So that means 1.5. So I can get rid of the first absolute value without any multiplying, and then put a sign in front of the second one. For the second one, again, it's larger than x larger than 1.0 would be larger than -4. So I get rid of the absolute value sign of the second one. It would be 2x. Let me apply this negative inside this parentheses. It would be positive. 2x minus x gives me x. Negative 3, negative 4 gives me negative 7 equals 1. So I bring x in the right side. X equals 8. 8 again is a member of this interval. So I can say x equals negative 2 thirds and x equals 8 makes this absolute value, makes this expression true.